Every man views relationships and interactions with women through the lens of his own experiences and past encounters. These experiences shape the way he navigates romance, dating, and attraction. For many, there's a deeply rooted belief that winning a woman over means offering her everything: constant attention, undivided time, and relentless energy. This idea often stems from the desire to prove affection and to build a connection quickly. The thinking is that by being overly available and catering to her every need, the bond between the two will grow stronger and she will become emotionally attached. Conversely, there's a common counter approach in dating: the idea of playing hard to get. Some men hold back their attention and make themselves seem less available, thinking that this will make them more desirable. The belief is that by being elusive and making the woman chase, they'll spark her interest. While this strategy can, at times, create some initial intrigue, it doesn't necessarily create a healthy or long-lasting connection. In reality, these approaches, whether over-investing or pulling back too much, are often extreme and counterproductive. Both can lead to imbalanced relationships and, ultimately, a lack of emotional connection. The key lies somewhere in the middle, striking a healthy balance of availability and space while maintaining self-respect and emotional independence. When a man first meets a woman, the early stages of a relationship often feel like a thrilling ride filled with optimism and excitement. The texts come quickly, dates are spontaneous, and every conversation holds potential. This early phase is marked by a rush of emotions, and the excitement of getting to know someone creates a sense of emotional bonding. The positive energy feels palpable, and both parties may feel connected in a way that seems promising for the future. However, during this initial phase, many men begin to shift their entire focus toward the woman. They text her first, initiate plans, and invest so much of their time and energy that it starts to feel like they are placing her at the center of their world. While this may feel natural in the early stages, it can unintentionally create an imbalance in the relationship. Over-investing too quickly can cause a shift in the dynamic, causing her to feel overwhelmed. Gradually, the woman may start to pull away. She becomes less responsive to texts, her engagement with plans starts to decline, and her tone changes. She might give vague answers like, "I've been really busy," or "We'll figure out another time to hang out." These types of statements often leave the man confused and anxious, wondering what went wrong or if she's losing interest. This situation is all too common, and for many men, it leads to panic. In an attempt to regain control or reassurance, many men overcompensate by texting longer messages, planning elaborate dates, or even asking, "Is everything okay?" But what's crucial to understand is that when you chase after a woman too eagerly, you risk pushing her further away. Chasing often causes her to run. It's important to recognize that this pattern of attraction, the initial pull and subsequent distance, is a natural part of the ebb and flow of relationships. The worst thing a man can do in such a scenario is to let fear dictate his actions. Instead of chasing, the key lies in learning the art of pulling back, creating space, and allowing her to pursue you. Pulling back in relationships is a powerful strategy because attraction thrives on mystery, uncertainty, and, yes, scarcity. It's a psychological principle deeply embedded in human behavior. People tend to desire things that are rare, exclusive, or difficult to attain. This principle is often observed in various aspects of life, whether it's a limited edition item, an exclusive invitation to a VIP event, or even something as simple as the idea of a celebrity crush. The rarer something is, the more valuable it becomes in the eyes of those who desire it. Let's take the example of famous limited edition sneakers. Why do people camp out for days or pay exorbitant amounts for a pair? It's not just about functionality, it's the scarcity. The idea that something is hard to get triggers a sense of urgency and desire in the person who wants it. This concept of scarcity isn't a modern development, it's been ingrained in human nature for centuries. A perfect historical example is Emperor Augustus of ancient Rome, a man who wielded immense power. Despite his authority, Augustus understood the strategic importance of absence. He didn't make himself constantly available to the people. Rather, he disappeared for weeks at a time, which left people wondering about his next move. When he did return, he was met with even more attention and fascination because of his temporary absence. His absence made his return that much more impactful, his presence even more powerful. For those who asked about the course, listen up. If you wanted to grab the course in the next 6 hours, you better act fast. After that, it's gone, not coming back. And if by some slim chance it ever opens again, the price won't be the same. It will be at least double what you see now. Don't sit around waiting, because this is your last shot. Move now or regret it later. The link is in the description. Let's continue. Similarly, when you make yourself constantly available to someone, you lose the power of mystery and intrigue. This is where many men go wrong in relationships. They believe that if they are always texting, always available to meet, and always eager to give attention, the woman will be more drawn to them. But the truth is, people, especially women, need room to breathe, to miss you, and to feel the absence. If you're always in the picture, there's no space for them to long for your presence. The key to creating attraction lies in striking the right balance. Scarcity does not mean playing games or being manipulative. It's about creating healthy space for both parties to miss each other. This space, when used properly, builds desire and keeps the dynamic exciting. Think of a rubber band. If you stretch it too far, it snaps. But if you pull it just enough, it creates tension that eventually causes it to snap back. The same principle applies to relationships. By not over-texting, constantly checking in, or making all the plans, you create space where she has the opportunity to feel the absence and come back to you naturally. It's this tension that stirs emotional connection and draws her closer. Fear plays a significant role when it comes to relationships, especially when a woman begins to pull away. This fear often manifests as an overwhelming sense of uncertainty, a sinking feeling in your stomach that signals emotional discomfort. The natural human reaction to this discomfort is to seek reassurance. For many men, this means doubling down on their efforts, texting more frequently, planning more elaborate dates, and attempting to fix what feels broken. But here's the important truth to understand. Fear does not reflect love. It reflects insecurity and ego. When you feel fearful in the presence of a woman pulling away, it's not love that's driving your actions. It's the ego, desperate to protect itself from rejection. This fear arises when you begin to lose control over the situation, or when your emotional attachment becomes too tightly wound around her approval. The desire to please and seek her validation leads many men to act impulsively, such as sending multiple texts or repeatedly seeking reassurance that everything is okay. These reactions, although understandable, are rooted in emotional dependency, not emotional strength. A man who is truly grounded and emotionally in control doesn't let fear dictate his actions. He doesn't chase or push for answers, and he certainly doesn't overtext or try to explain himself when things seem uncertain. Instead, he maintains a level of emotional detachment from the outcome. He understands that attraction is built on self-assurance, emotional stability, and independence, not on how much validation he can seek from the woman. To be the kind of man who commands respect and attraction, you must focus on cultivating emotional control and inner strength. When you live with purpose and passion, whether it's through your career, hobbies, fitness, or other aspects of your life, your value doesn't hinge on another person's opinion or attention. Attraction thrives on independence. The more you focus on yourself and pursue your own goals, the more attractive you become to others, because they sense that you are not emotionally dependent on anyone. When you remain focused on your own life and goals, you create a sense of mystery and intrigue. This self-sufficiency makes you stand out in a world where so many people are emotionally needy and dependent. The more independent you are, the more others will naturally gravitate toward you. The concept of the one who got away is a powerful and intriguing dynamic in human relationships. It often unfolds when one person becomes overly fixated on the other, constantly pursuing them with unwavering attention and effort, thinking that more investment will secure the connection. Early on, everything feels effortless. The dates are frequent, the texting is constant, and both individuals seem to be aligned in their pursuit of each other. But over time, this intense investment can create an imbalance. One person may feel overwhelmed, while the other becomes too emotionally dependent, ultimately distorting the dynamic. This is where the magic of attraction begins to shift. When a person continues to chase relentlessly, the other party often begins to sense a loss of value in themselves. They start to feel pressured or suffocated, leading them to pull away. The more the pursuing partner tries to compensate by increasing their efforts, the more the attraction starts to fade. But the moment they stop trying so hard, the roles reverse, and the attraction begins to build again. This is what is commonly referred to as the one who got away. Consider the case of Ethan and Ava. In the beginning, everything seemed perfect. Ethan was texting Ava daily, planning elaborate dates, and giving her all his attention. They had great chemistry, and their early interactions were filled with excitement and fun. But as the days went by, Ava started to feel overwhelmed by Ethan's constant presence and his need to always be available. She began to feel like their relationship was becoming too one-sided, and the more Ethan chased after her, the more distant she became. Ava needed space to breathe and reflect on her feelings, but Ethan didn't pick up on the subtle signs of her withdrawal. Instead of pulling back, he doubled down on his efforts, sending more texts, planning bigger dates, and seeking more reassurance from her. This, unfortunately, created more pressure. As a result, Ava's responses became shorter, and her enthusiasm for the relationship started to wane. Ethan couldn't understand why things were changing and started to feel anxious, wondering if he had done something wrong. Finally, after weeks of feeling unbalanced, Ethan had an epiphany. He decided to pull back, not out of frustration, but out of a desire to regain his own emotional control. He stopped initiating conversations so frequently, gave Ava the space she needed, and started to focus on himself again. He returned to his hobbies, spent more time with friends, and focused on his career. Gradually, the shift in his behavior began to pay off. Ava, noticing the absence of his constant attention, began to wonder what Ethan was up to. Why wasn't he texting her every day? Who was he spending time with? Was he losing interest in her? These questions started to play on her mind, and the emotional space she had been craving now created an intriguing sense of longing. The more Ethan focused on his own life, the more Ava realized she missed him. She started reaching out to him more often, texting first, and making plans to see him. The dynamic had completely shifted. Ava was now more engaged, more interested, and more invested in the relationship. Ethan had unintentionally become the one who got away, simply by pulling back and focusing on his own life. Ava's emotional need to reconnect had reignited her attraction to him. What happened here? Ethan's decision to stop chasing and to reclaim his emotional independence sparked a change in the dynamic. By creating some distance and showing that his life was fulfilling without her constant attention, he triggered a deep emotional shift. Ava's curiosity and desire to reconnect only grew because she could feel that Ethan was not relying on her to define his happiness. This story demonstrates an essential lesson in relationships. When you stop over-pursuing and focus on your own journey, you create the space for the other person to come back to you. Instead of trying harder to win them over, stepping back can often be the key to reawakening their interest. Knowing when and how to pull back in a relationship can be tricky, but when done right, it's one of the most effective ways to shift the dynamic in your favor. Here are some practical tips on how to pull back without creating tension or awkwardness. Stop texting first all the time. One of the easiest ways to create space is to stop always being the one to initiate contact. Let her reach out to you sometimes. This doesn't mean ignoring her or playing games, but rather allowing her the opportunity to take the lead occasionally. If she takes several hours to respond, don't panic. Match her energy. This is not about playing hard to get. It's about letting her know that you have a life outside the relationship. Invest in your own life. If you want to be more attractive, you need to have a fulfilling life outside the relationship. Spend time doing things that make you happy and keep you grounded. Go to the gym, hang out with friends, or focus on personal goals. When you prioritize your own life, you naturally become less dependent on her for validation, which creates a magnetic confidence. Don't overanalyze your interactions. When you're in touch with her, keep it light, fun, and carefree. Don't try to dissect the relationship or force deep conversations about the future. Let the connection evolve naturally without pushing for answers. Be consistent, but not overly available. Being available and responsive is important, but don't overdo it. Avoid being overly eager in your responses. Let there be a natural ebb and flow to your conversations. Don't make her the center of your world, but also don't be distant. A balance of availability and space will create a healthy dynamic. Stay true to yourself. The ultimate goal is to remain grounded in who you are, regardless of how the relationship is unfolding. If she's truly interested in you, she will make an effort to stay in touch, initiate plans, and be engaged. If she's not reciprocating, then it's not the right match. Don't chase someone who isn't putting in the same effort. The most important takeaway from all of this is that attraction thrives on emotional control, independence, and the ability to create space in the relationship. When you feel her pulling away, don't panic. Don't chase harder. Instead, allow her the room to miss you and use this time to focus on your own life, passions, and goals. When you stay grounded in your own purpose and maintain your own sense of value, you will naturally attract the right person. A man who understands his own worth will never fear losing a woman because he knows he is the prize. Remember, relationships should never feel like a chase. Attraction is about emotional balance, not desperation. When you maintain this mindset, you will not only keep your own emotional well-being intact, but you will also create a dynamic that is healthy, balanced, and, most importantly, enduring. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And just one more time, in 6 hours, the course will no longer be available, so act fast. See you in the next one.